That is my definition of enlightenment. When you and I can really say deep within ourselves that we have everything we need right now. Not from someone else, because that can get a little codependent, but we have everything we need right now because we know our relationship with God, creative intelligence, with love, whatever we want to call that, that we have that kind of connection. Now, in the book, One River, Many Wells, that we're using for our study group, Matthew Fox says, enlightenment is not a matter of faith alone. It's a matter of practice. So I'm just going to offer, if we want to take that practice out in the world, in our own lives today, out in the world of our own life, if we try saying every day, every moment maybe, I have everything I need right now. That beautiful reading that you read, Barbara, wow. I said, what amazing mystic said that? And she said, it didn't tell much except he was a police officer and a Gulf War veteran, wrote that. I'd ask you please to talk to Jeff and put that on our website because, you know, if we live in the world of comparison, we can't possibly be enlightened. If we're in a world of right, wrong, good, bad, yes, no, and don't have a greater truth running our lives, we can't really get to that place of enlightenment. We all touch enlightenment now and then because we're made of light. Light is inside of us, the stuff we're made of, everything. Matter is just sculpted light. And on that note, I want to share from, one of my favorite 13th century mystic poets, Hafez. His poem is called Sculpting Light. And he says the difference between a good artist, and let me just say, we're all artists because we are creative beings. We're made from creative intelligence. That's the stuff of who we are. So we're all artists in our own unique way. So let me start again. The difference between a good artist and a great one is the novice will also often lay down his tools or brush, then pick the invisible club up from the mind's table. Take the tools and lay them down and pick up the invisible club that's on the mind's table and helplessly smash his easels and jade. Where the vintage man or woman or child no longer hurts himself or anyone else and just keeps on sculpting light. Our greatness, our goodness, our amazingness, our enlightenment lies right beyond that discomfort. Ooh, I don't know if I can do that. Ooh, that's too hard. Oh, I don't want to do that. Our greatness is right there. It's right there for us. It's not for some of us. It's for all of us. Beautiful Ralph Waldo Emerson, who was a major founder and motivator of the Transcendental Movement, the philosophical and spiritual movement in America, said, "We lie in the lap of immense intelligence, being open to its wisdom and the organs of its creation. As soon as we discern the greater truth, we simply need to radiate those beams." That's what's there for us. We just need to open ourselves to something more. The soul doesn't enlarge by adding things. It enlarges by taking things away. We've been given this huge gift of creation. Now I want to tell you Matthew Fox's, what he wrote down in his book about different aspects of enlightenment. Meditation, which I'll touch on, creativity and art, the holy imagination, which I hopefully will touch on, joy, suffering, which I'll touch on, beauty is next week's path of enlightenment, and sacred sexuality, which I'll let you experiment on your own this week. We'll talk about it later. So I want to talk for a minute about something that has disturbed me greatly this week. Something I feel I have experience with, quite a bit of experience. And it involves the Gold Star families of the 4 Green Berets that were killed. And an argument has come up about he said, she said, this, that, arguing what's right and wrong. And you know what? I know in our culture we don't know how to deal with suffering. We don't know how to do it because we've lost the art of helping one another through those processes. You know, Pema Chodron, a beautiful Tibetan nun who practices Buddhism, and she's an amazing, funny woman. She was actually born as Deidre Bloomfield Brown, I believe, and then had some deep suffering in her own life through 2 divorces, kind of difficult, very difficult divorces, and she went to Buddhism to find her soul, and she teaches about pain and suffering, joy and sorrow are 2 sides of the same coin. Our life is about experiencing both of them, not just one, but both. And I think sometimes we get ashamed of suffering. We don't want to suffer. We don't know how to suffer. I want to tell you, oh gosh, I don't know how many years ago, 25 years ago, I remember I used to do a bit what Mario does, and I took our teens to camp at the center Kirk and I were in, and I was involved in the teen group, and we'd go to camp. And one summer, I heard that one of the beautiful women there had just lost her 18-year-old daughter in a drunk driving accident. Not the daughter, but was hit by a drunk driver. I avoided that woman the entire camp. I couldn't believe I would have anything to say that could touch anything that unimaginably difficult. I avoided that woman. I didn't talk to her because I didn't have the words. We hadn't been trained how to deal with loss and suffering. We just didn't talk about it much in my family. You know, we didn't touch on that too much. And then losing my own daughter, our daughter, at close to the same age in a car accident. She was one of the first people to call me. And I remember she said, I will be there for you anytime I need. And I remember waiting up all night to wait till 6 o'clock in the morning that I could call and just know someone else had lived through what I didn't know if I could or not. But we don't have that training here. And I'm watching this argument going on thinking, stop it! This is a time we could go to a greater truth. This is a time we could teach this country, our world, about how to deal with suffering. Is there anyone here that hasn't suffered? It's a universal experience. Suffering happens to all of us. And if we don't learn how to deal with it, we're going to keep the bantering going on and keep ourselves stuck and cluttered up. And I'll tell you, the reason we're all made for enlightenment, we're made of light, we're on the journey, we're on the path. The reason we don't get enlightened is because we're too cluttered. We're too filled either with sadness or anger or grief or pain that we don't know how to deal with suffering. So I'm going to ask us this week, besides saying, oh, I have everything I need right now, I'm going to give you some other homework. Suffering is part of life, and we need to learn how to celebrate the joys and the sorrows in life. We need to learn how to do that for each other. That's why ritual is so important, and we're ending our service today with a beautiful short ritual because it's so, so, so important. But I want you to think, right now in my life, am I suffering because of other people? Is someone else's whatever making me suffer? Well, let's step to a higher understanding. People make other people suffer with the opportunity to suffer. They don't make other people suffer. We choose to hold on to the suffering of our own, but it's because the suffering in their own being is so strong, it just oozes over. They don't need us to criticize and punish them. They need us to love and understand and help. They don't know how to lift their own consciousness. And how often do we not know how to do that either? When life experiences hit us and we don't know how to handle them, wow. We don't know how to lift our consciousness, and we need help. We need help. We need practices. We need understanding. Now, I think a beautiful practice, Thich Nhat Hanh said, enlightenment is when the wave realizes, I'm the ocean. That's enlightenment. Wow, I'm bigger than I thought. I'm the whole ocean, and that's the same with us. We get enlightened when we realize that we're not only one with God, but one with all life. And we let our light, we start turning up that light, because we all have the light within us. We talk about that divine spark, that inner fire, that spark of fire within us, that creative essence. So we've been given that. That's our gift, but we've been given a dimmer switch too. And we can turn it off. We can't obliterate it. That spark cannot be obliterated, but it can be obscured and dimmed, pretty tiny. But we can get it back. It's never out. Well, Thich Nhat Hanh, who talked about the wave in the ocean, also talked about enlightenment is being fully present in each and every moment. Doesn't matter what the moment brings, but to bring yourself to it fully. And boy, how to approach this gift. Do you know that the gift we have, that every moment is a new moment? We can change our mind at any time, boom, and have a new thought, a new idea, a new connection in every and any moment. However, when we're so cluttered, it's too hard to make that switch. So Matthew Fox talks about mindfulness also and meditation. Really, there's two kinds of meditation, and we need to practice both of them. One is the emptying out. And I know our practitioners here that lead our meditations, sometimes they do the letting out, the silence, the quiet, just letting go. Not judging the thoughts that come in, just letting them roll and pass and letting go. Making space for spirit, for co-creation, for possibility. And then there's the filling up with affirmation, mantras, good thoughts, visualizations where we can feel up and lift ourselves up. We have both of those. We need both of those practices in our life. And they're a way to start healing that suffering that happens in each and all of our lives. But we need that practice. You know, I remember in the depths of my suffering, our society just doesn't know what to do. I just walked into a doctor's office because I just didn't know what to do, and I knew the doctor really well, and I just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed, and I said, I don't know how to get rid of this grief. And all that, of course, he knew how to do was to give me a prescription that I crumpled up and threw out. Not just because I knew that wasn't what I needed at that time. If he'd hugged me and held me, although that would have been totally inappropriate, but if he'd done that, God, well, what am I thinking? But that would have been, I could have gone to someone else, which you already did for sure, Kurt. But, we need more connection and talking. So let's look at how to flip that switch. We do that by, meditation, by practice, but another amazing way to flip the switch, to turn on the light, to activate the Christ light, the Buddha light, the God light, whatever light we have to ignite it all, is through creative expression. Now, remember, the judgment will come up. Just as Hafez says, we start the creative process and we go, oh, that's crap. That's bad. But it's a process. We're learning, we're growing, we're becoming. We've got to awaken to that light within us. Now, we think, well, I'm not a painter. I don't sculpt, but that's not what art is all the way. That's a piece of it. Sharon, is art dancing? Yes, of course. Dancing, storytelling, writing. I think good, beautiful conversation is art. We need to become better artists. If we're not using that creative process, we're not progressing in this world. If we're not using that creative process, then if there's not progress and process, we're not growing. I want you to think, how do you use the creative process in your life? What inspires you and ignites you? Music. I don't know what I'd be. That song that Gretchen just sang, I've been listening to for 2 days. I asked Kirk if he was sick of it because it so ignited me. It so brought forth in me what I needed in that moment that words wouldn't have done. It's the music and the singing, the flute playing. Hildegard of Bingen, one of the most beautiful mystics, 13th century mystics. She was an environmentalist. She stood for justice. She stood for unity. But she also created great, beautiful music. And I've been listening to that. Just so beautiful to the soul. We need to find the things that really, really ignite us. So I'm going to ask you for 1 minute, just before we go into our prayer time and our call to step up. We know, what I know is that creativity, when we are in that process, it brings great joy. It brings great joy to us. So I'm going to invite you right now to just soften your heart and open your mind and just ask, what expression in this world truly inspires me and allows me to be pushed to the edge of discomfort, but know that I'm here for something more because life is continually growing and expanding? What is it within me that calls for that something greater to be expressed? That something more that's calling right now. And if you feel a little fear, just label it as excitement. Excitement. Ooh, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. When the fear shows up, that's good. I'm excited. And just know with me in this moment that that inspiration that comes forth, that's wanting to be born, that we do have everything we need. Of course, there's a process of learning and growing. Enlightenment doesn't happen all at once. It's one step at a time. When we touch into the small pieces of enlightenment, the step towards creativity, the step towards love, the step towards joy, the step towards beauty, the step into suffering, when we step into enlightenment that way, it leads us to greater and greater and greater enlightenment. A greater oneness with God, a greater oneness with love, a greater oneness with all life. All life. When Spirit calls to us and asks us to dance, it's really calling us to feel that connection with one another. Now, in our prayer wall today, there's a way to prepare yourself for prayer. There's a way to prepare yourself to be open and available to hear the truth. And that's just to rest back. We might say the lap of immense intelligence, the arms of creative expression. We may lean back into spirit, to God, to love, whatever it is. To be open in that and to praise what's good in your life right now. We must be able to be open to praise. And the things that aren't so good right now, to be willing to forgive. Be willing to forgive. So just keep that going. I'm going to invite up, part of our Adventure in Spirit program is we invite up a beautiful individual from our community to share a little bit, a little journey for you. And this is Bill Haskett, and he's going to lead us in a ritual today. So would you like me to invite the practitioners and ministers up now? We want to hold a container for the ritual. So if our practitioners and ministers would come up and make a beautiful line of truth and beauty and love and sharing. Please do that now and just face our beautiful community. And Bill, if you'll share with us today, we'd love that.
Forgiveness is freedom. When we have judged and blamed and carry with us anger, offense, past remembrances of loss, we hold ourselves back from the light. And there is a prayer that we step into this. Before I give the prayer, I'd like you to understand that the very basis of the Centers for Spiritual Living is the science of mind. And the philosophy of the science of mind is change your thinking, change your life. That's what we're going to do now. We're going to take responsibility for our judgment, for our blame, for whatever we have brought forth for ourselves. So settle in. I invite you, close your eyes. Be mindful of the breath. And now call forth for yourself some person, some situation, or event that you are carrying with you. Call it forth and command it to stand before you now. Please repeat after me. I judge you not.
I judge you not.
I extend forgiveness to myself for what I have created. I embrace you. I love you. I free you to be yourself. And I bless you with the blessings of the Christ. So it is.
Bill brings us teachings not only of the science of mind, where he is a practitioner, but also the beautiful teachings of the Lakota people. And so before we open our prayer wall, I just invite you to think, what am I willing to step into? Where I am willing to step into more love, more forgiveness, more creative expression. I'm willing to step into and face the challenges, the difficulties with love. Whatever that is for you today, please come up and know we've already established our first 2 steps of spiritual mind treatment. God is all there is. Number 1, we are one with God. Number 2, and now our practitioners, our ministers are simply going to know the truth for you. Please come forward in this moment. Prayer wall is coming to a close. What I truly know is down in the midst of each and every one of us, there is a deep desire to love and to be loved. And the natural outpicturing of love is joy. So your homework is to spend time knowing you have everything you need, everything. To ask when there's a difficult situation, what's the greater truth to be known today? And to choose joy, because that is that natural outpicturing of the love that you already are. Please know how much I truly love and care for each one of you. I'm so blessed and happy that we are on this journey together. I bless and honor all of our practitioners and ministers. And Bill, thank you so much for sharing the gift of love and healing with our community today. It's with that great joy and happiness. Let's just seal the deal by saying together, and so it is. Amen. Thank you, thank you, thank you.